Councilman Foley? Councilman Gifford?
Here.
Councilman Green?
Here.
Vice Mayor Dubs?
Here.
Mayor Stillman?
Here, we do have a quorum for this evening. All right. Item 4, public comments on consent agenda items only. Do we have any public comments on consent agenda items? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items.
Good approval for consent agenda items.
5 through 10.
Through 10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 5 through 10. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Gifford?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dubs?
Yes.
Mayor Stillman?
Yes, 4-0. Moving us quickly to item number 11, retirement recognition for K9 Buddy. Chief, why don't you guys come on down?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, City Attorney, City staff, and guests. Manny Marino, Chief of Police, and I get the distinct pleasure tonight to welcome Buddy into retirement, evidently. You saw on the consent agenda item, there was an item before you to grant ownership to K9 Officer Krista McBride. Chris has been Buddy's handler for the last 6.5 years. Like me, you can see Buddy's put on a couple gray hairs and he's moving a little bit slower. And he actually, though, was still going strong. I believe right up until the summer, he was still. I saw some apprehensions, some narcotics arrests. Unfortunately, he did suffer another injury, and we decided it was time. Krista and Buddy have been representatives of the department, as you've seen through social media. You know, between doing. Forget the the law enforcement work part of it, canine detections and more, narcotic detection and more recently tracking. They've been great with community groups, schools, special events like family days, and they really enjoy the work they do, and you can see Buddy light up when they're doing it. In addition to that, Officer McBride and K9, the most recent award they won, I believe, was Top Dog, right, Kristen?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years in a row, she was selected as the top handler and Buddy as the top dog in the Space Coast K9 conference, correct? So together they've been awesome partners. We really appreciate you allowing her to do this. There's a special bond between the K9 and their handler. They're together all shift, every shift. They train, even on their days off. The dog's with them in their home. So I think it was only fitting, and we appreciate you doing that for us. So with that, Kristen?
Just want to say thank you for giving me for giving me such a good partner. I'm really happy that I get to retire him on his own terms.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Krista, I want to say to you, having worked in your world a little bit and been involved with K9 teams in the past, I can truly appreciate the amount of work that goes into that partnership. Not only when you're on the clock, but when you're at home. It's a 24/7 commitment that a lot of people really don't realize. The amount of training, the amount of care. It's a part of you. It is truly a partnership that probably is unmatched in any other element of law enforcement, because they are with you all the time, and they become not only your partner, but they become your family members. And they mean the world to the family, and we appreciate everything that you and Buddy have done together for the community. I know I've seen you out and about, and I've seen you interacting with the community and the kids and all that stuff, and it's amazing, and it's priceless. It really is. And but I just want to thank you and your family, because by the way, I know there's other people involved and partners on the shifts, right? I mean, everybody plays a role, and with these canine teams, and so we truly appreciate what you have done and what you have been able to bring to the department, and in the level of quality that you bring to it as well. I think the accolades and the recognitions that you've received, you and Buddy have received, go without saying that you guys have done it right, and you've done it extremely well. So we are immensely grateful, and I would agree. I'm glad that this is happening on your terms and Buddy's terms, and I know Buddy will be well cared for and plenty of love, and they get extra treats in retirement, right? I mean, a lot extra.
24/7.
Yeah, so lots and lots of extra treats. So again, thank you for everything you guys have done. Tracy, you want?
Now, having this as an opportunity for y'all to stay together is beyond what needs to be. Having a partner, humankind is one thing, but having an animal at your side 24/7 is special. So, congratulations.
Yeah, it's good to see someone serve our city for 6 years. Some officers don't make it that long, but he has. So thank you for your service, and thank you for taking him in for the rest of his life. I'm sure your family's excited about that. All right, good.
Lance?
I think the mayor's covered most of it, but again, thank you, and I know Buddy's in good hands, and he's going to enjoy his retirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Krista, can we get you and your family just kind of come right over here with any other officers that are here tonight and the chief, and we want to just get one more final picture. And if you don't care, I'm going to come down for this one.
Maybe he could bite the mayor one last time on the way out there.
No rules.
No rules.
Smell over there.
All right, item number 12. How about the Volusia Young Marines come on down front and center here tonight?
All right.
Who is speaking on behalf of this fine group?
What do you want me to say?
Come on up here.
Come on up here, Dad.
Come on up here and introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about your organization, and then when you're done, I've got a proclamation to read for you guys.
My name is David Owen. I'm the executive officer for the Volusia Young Marines. We are ages 8 to 18. We kind of mirror the Marine Corps rank structure, but one of the things that we're here tonight for is drug demand redemption, and it's we try to keep the kids drug free and teach them about the different bad drugs and how to say no. And we're all about teamwork, leadership, and discipline is what we try to teach them. And we meet twice a month, the second and fourth Saturday of the month. This past weekend, we were at the American Legion for the Veterans Expo, where they had the traveling wall. And our Young Marines Honor Guard got to present colors and do different things for the Veteran Expo down there too. So we do a lot of community service.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And can you introduce? You know what? Let's have them all introduce themselves. How about that? Can you guys come on up here one at a time? Tell us your name and how old you are. Where do you go to school?
Oldacre. 10.
Where do you go to school?
I don't go to school, I'm homeschooled.
All right. Come on up, guys. Who's up next?
Hey, make sure you tell your rank, okay?
Yeah, right.
The right way.
Get close to the mic there. There you go.
My name is Young Marine Private Van Orman K. I'm 9 years old and I go to Port Orange Elementary.
Great job.
Excellent. Great job.
My name is Young Marine Lance Corporal Van Orman and I am 13 years old and I'm actually homeschooled FLVS.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm recruiting Sufi. I'm 14 and I go to Silver Sands Middle School.
Excellent. Great. Great to meet you.
I am Private Messiah. I am 11 years old and I go to Creekside Middle School.
Excellent.
All right.
Hi, I'm Young Marine PFC Burkhardt. I'm 14 and I go to Silver Sands
Excellent.
Middle School.
Great. Thank you. And I see you've got a fistful of red ribbons there
Yes, sir.
as well. All right. If you guys will give me just a moment, I want to read this proclamation and then I'll come down there and get a picture with you guys, okay? Whereas communities across America have been plagued by numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them, and whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle, and whereas government and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities, and whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol of commemorating the work of Enrique Quique Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts, and whereas October 23rd through the 31st has been designated as National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now therefore, I, Scott Stiltner, Mayor of the City of Port Orange, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through the 31st of 2025 as Red Ribbon Week in the City of Port Orange, and encourage all citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities, not only during Red Ribbon Week, but also throughout the year, making it a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free lifestyle. Great job, guys. Thank you very much. Great handshakes. You guys have been practicing those. I love it. Thank you, guys. Go all the way across the top.
I got you.
There you go.
All right, good job, kid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, keep it up, all right? Good job.
You won't get it. You're fine. Very much. Thank you.
All right, that'll bring us to item number 13, proclamation for Manufacturing Month. Do we have anybody here to present? Come on up. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good, good. Good to see you. Go ahead and tell us who you guys are, and I'll read this proclamation.
Fantastic. My name is Jessica Lovett. I am the president and CEO of the VMA, the region's #1 resource for manufacturers. We service Volusia, Flagler, a little bit of Seminole, a little bit of Brevard counties. We get all of our manufacturers together in the area to share best practices so they can become better, faster, stronger in any way that we can help them do so. I don't know if you know this, but we have over 500 manufacturers in Volusia County alone. So everybody clap. We need to make sure that we have great goods here that are local and that we don't have to ship in from anywhere else. So thank you for the proclamation, y'all. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, guys. All right, whereas October 3rd, 2025 is recognized as a National Manufacturing Day by the Manufacturing Institute. The Volusia Manufacturers Association will launch the month with We Make It Here Day, followed by events throughout October to raise awareness of the importance of manufacturing in the Volusia County area and highlight its industry, high skill, high wage careers. And whereas Manufacturing Month is an opportunity to recognize the key role manufacturing plays in Volusia County's economy, supporting over 12,000 jobs and contributing more than $1.3 billion annually. The industry offers careers averaging $62,550 per year and plays a vital part in driving local growth and innovation. And whereas the VMA supports manufacturers year-round through advocacy, training, partnerships, and resource sharing. During Manufacturing Month, the VMA showcases local innovation and economic impact through tours, outreach, and events that strengthen the manufacturing community and raise public awareness. And whereas the City of Port Orange proudly supports Manufacturing Month and recognizes the vital contributions of our local manufacturers and leadership of the VMA. Now therefore, I, Scott Stiltner, Mayor of the City of Port Orange, Florida, on behalf of the Commission, do hereby proclaim October 25th as Manufacturing Month in the City of Port Orange, and encourage all citizens to join in recognizing the vital role of our manufacturers and the importance they serve. There you go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See you later. Thank you. Item 14, Art House update. Do we have anybody here from Art House?
I don't think they're here tonight.
Wave your hand if you are here.
I actually have Cameron's report.
Okay.
So Cameron, the executive director of Birdhouse, apologizes for not being here tonight. She's actually at the county council meeting fighting for the cultural grant. As many of you all know, the Volusia County Council recently pulled the long-standing cultural grant and its consent agenda, leaving more than $600,000 of funding unallocated. The grant represents 0.04% of the overall budget. Nearly every dollar that is done for the cultural grant, $2 have been notated of coming back in investment back. The impact of losing this funding countywide of hundreds of students, scholarships, exhibitors, affecting over 200 youth scholarships of free, reduced costs of programs and field trips throughout the year. So that's where she is currently. There is a petition that is up on their website, and she's just asking for people to go forward and sign a petition to try to help with the new fundings. Currently, there is 2,300 people have signed up as of the last 10 days. So in 10 days, I've got that many people that are there, and that's why she's not here tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
They did a great job during Family Days with the sidewalk chalk art competition. So I would have definitely liked to have praised her for that tonight, but we'll do that in the future. Item D, public participation for non-agended items. Cassandra Rose from the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber. Hi, welcome. Come on up.
Evening, esteemed council members, guests. Just wanted to give kind of an update. As usual, we do have our monthly business after hours that are going on, as well as the morning mix and mingles. But also to highlight, we do have our annual banquet that is going to be coming up quickly, December 3rd. Tickets will be going on sale shortly. So it's sure to sell out, always does. So definitely want to, see everybody there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Lori Becker on National Preparedness Month. Hey, Lori, welcome.
Good evening, council members. I would just want to remind everybody that this is National Preparedness Month. Here's a big ready.gov information flyer on this. While we are still searching for short-range plans, short-term plans for flooding mitigation in our community, I would just like to add 2 items possibly we could think about. One of them is a social media PR showcase, DIYing some projects, some very simple projects, just as a reminder to our community that we are responsible for our own property, and perhaps we can do that by putting some DIY programs on this website, something flood related. Number 2, a residential mitigation grant program for substantially flooded homes that meet criteria. I have presented that proposal to each of you. I appreciate Mr. Green and Gephardt and Mayor for actually responding to that proposal. I seriously think that we have got to get our community built back better for the next flood. We have to fight this from the inside out. We don't have time to wait for all these great projects that are coming our way. I'm well aware of that, as everybody else is. But in the meantime, we're going to take on water. And a lot of people just don't have money to fix their homes. I personally have spent $10,000 in the last 3 years trying to make sure that I will not flood again and get a nastygram from the city that says that I've substantially flooded 3 times. So let's work together. I really believe that we have to stop fighting the water and we have to start living with the water. Through mitigation, waterproofing, floodgates, French drains, gutters, building back better. And hopefully a stormwater master plan that will put this city back on its feet again. Thank you. National Disaster Preparedness Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Catherine Pantay to speak on the consent agenda items.
Oh, I thought it was public comment.
No, did you want to talk about the previous consent agenda items that we already approved?
No, they told me public comment. They said that's already been passed. This is your time to speak. I got
Come
it.
on.
Okay. Yeah. It just said that on here, it said for consent agenda, so I thought. Go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. Catherine Pantay, Address Protected. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to the Vintage Acres development.
I'm sorry. I had a feeling. We're going to come to that. That's actually an agenda item. I
Okay.
apologize, Catherine.
All right.
I'm so sorry. I will get you back up here in just a few.
Thank you.
That sounds like a wonderful plan. I got it right there on the top. All right. Sorry about that. Item 15. We didn't have any other for the. Okay. Item 15, council members. Tracy, go right ahead. We'll start with you tonight.
Yeah, we'll start off with family days. A little bit of dampness on Saturday, but Sunday was absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't had a chance to walk around City Hall and looking at the chalk art, which I know the mayor got a chance to vote on it, and it was absolutely spectacular. I think he would agree upon that. It's out there. The artists are just unbelievable. Ages from, I think the youngest I saw was age 8, moving all the way up, and what they do is just amazing. They seal it, so it's actually out there for the next probably month and a half. It'll be sitting out there for everybody to walk by and see what they do. On another note, 2 weeks ago when we met here, we talked about the red tapes and things of that nature of how we have to get through to get to some of these permittings is dealing with the Army Corps of Engineer as being one of our hardest ones. Had great news yesterday, and I'm going to pass that news off to our Assistant City Manager, Robin, and let her deliver that to everybody.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Robin Fenwick, Assistant City Manager. And Lori's right. We have a lot of great projects coming our way, and the first one is the Cambridge Pond and Pump Station project. And we did receive good news that they've issued our permit from the Army Corps. So next up, and we're working diligently with the St. Johns River Water Management District now, finalizing some things, but we are still on track for that to go out to bid in the next couple of months, later this fall, and construction is anticipated to begin early 2026. So that's the first project
Excellent.
you guys will probably see.
Excellent. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Robin.
I can't top that.
Yes,
It's phenomenal news.
Leave it right there, right? For sure. Sean, go right ahead.
I just want to say I'm thankful that the buildings on the corner of US 1 and Dunlawton are coming down now that they've been vacated, and we can start making that corner a little more appealing for a potential purchaser in the future. Also want to commend the staff and our safety for running it was Port Orange Community Trust doing this Family Days event here on our property every year. Yeah, we had some rain, but it didn't slow too many people down. It was a great event. Sunday was fantastic, great weather. So just thank for our safety and our Parks and Rec for just having a really smooth event. I got to participate in that little parade. That was a lot of fun. And our company participated in supporting that event with 3 booths. I've never had so much cotton candy up my elbow in my entire life, but it was a lot of fun, and looking forward to the future events for them, and hopefully they'll be able to have them this year. We got lucky and didn't get rained out or didn't get hurricaned out. So really that's all I have for now.
Nothing tonight for me, Mr. Mayor.
All right, sounds good. I just want to echo a thank you to all of the volunteers with the Port Orange Community Trust, all of our city staff, and all the different departments that it takes to do a Family Days event. You're absolutely right. It was a great event. Sunday was gorgeous. I mean, beautiful event. Very well attended. It was great to see people be able to get out with their families and enjoy the city center complex. Also wanted to from item 10 tonight on the consent agenda, I wanted to just a quick thank you to our city and our county staff for moving quickly to get the Transform 386 JPA done and get that ball rolling quickly as possible. This is the first meeting, and there's already continuing progress, so thank you to you guys for that. City Attorney, what do you got?
Nothing for you tonight.
Nothing. All right. Mr. City Manager.
I don't have anything additional.
Nothing additional. All right. See if we guys can drag you guys into something later. Item 18 is the Citizen Advisory Committee for TPO. Bobby Ball reached out to me. He was not able to be here tonight, so we will get an update from him on the next one. Item 19 is Parks and Rec Board update, and I believe Mike Navarro is here. There he is.
How you doing?
In the flesh. Welcome. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know.
All right.
Mike Navarro, Parks and Rec Board Vice Chair.
Thanks for being here. Tell us what's going on in Parks and Rec.
All right, we had our meeting tonight, and we had project updates. The Parks and Rec has a new page where all the project updates are located. They were showing it to us in the meeting. It's pretty substantial. Tells us all the projects, what's going on, where they are in process. So I think that's going to be good for everybody to get the items out there from the bond issue. They had a White Place meeting. It's 100% planned out, so they're going to be doing that renovation soon. City Center is in planning, and Willow Run Park is in planning, and they had a citizen meeting the other day about that. Rec West is out for plans. I mean, that's been a big thing for the Parks and Rec Board since I've been on it, is having another rec center out in the West, because the one here is so packed. And it just seems like that's where the people need to, get some people out there. So I think that'll be I think it's going to be well received from everybody. Karachi Fields drainage improvements. They're working on drainage improvements to get Karachi Fields taken care of. They hope to get 2 fields done right now, and then we'll get another 2 fields done in a little bit. And according to them, we have 26 projects for next year we're going to be doing. So that's all I got.
Did you guys get a chance to talk about and look over any of the feedback that I know staff was working on? Some of your folks attended on the White Place project over there on the east side of the city?
We haven't seen the feedback yet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very, very well attended.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy-
A lot of pickleball.
With
A lot of pickleballs I've
with a
heard,
heavy
yeah.
pickleball flair.
Yeah.
But I tell you what's interesting is to go over and see how well, that's our oldest Parks and Rec area of the city, and to see how well it is still being
We used to
utilized.
sneak
and how
over
much
there to practice
interest.
all the time.
Yeah,
Because
how
that was the
much-
only field you could get, you know, we used to sneak over there all the time to practice.
Yeah.
So,
I
it's been
actually
there.
learned that there is an actual Port Orange Horseshoe Club
Oh, yeah.
that I was unaware of. And they are serious about horseshoes. And all you gotta do is talk to them for a minute and you'll find out how serious.
It just, if parks change, you know, that's part of the board, you know, parks change over time, you know, like that wasn't well developed, now we put a pickleball in, it's one of the most used parks we have.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just, you know, you have to move on from what it was and move on to what it needs to be.
That's right.
So, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I
Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, item 20, first reading of ordinance number 2025-26. And if it's okay with everybody, I think we're going to open items 20 and 21 at the same time, since they are same topic. Does that sound okay with you, Ms. Cruz?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll yield to the city attorney to read.
Sure. Ordinance number 2025-26 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, amending the future land use flu designation for 52.96 acres from Volusia County Agriculture Resource, 1 unit per 10 acres, to City of Port Orange Rural Transition, 0 to 2 units per acre, amending 3.57 acres of the Volusia County Urban Low Intensity, 0 to 4 units per acre, to City of Port Orange Rural Transition, 0 to 2 units per acre, for property generally located north of Charles Street and west of Airport Road. Authorized transmittal to required agencies, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Can I get a motion and a second to get item number 20 on the floor?
Yeah, I move to approve ordinance 2025-26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you go ahead and read and introduce item 21, ordinance number 2025-27?
Sure, it's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property consisting of approximately 56.53 acres of Volusia County A1 prime agriculture and plus or minus 3.57 acres of Volusia County A2 rural agriculture to City of Port Orange Planned Unit Development, PUD, and establishing the Vintage Acres Master Development Agreement and Conceptual Development Plan for property generally located north of Charles Street and west of Airport Road, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Can I get a motion and a second for item 21?
Go ahead and do a motion for 2025-27.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Penelope Cruz Planning. As the city attorney just mentioned, the subject property is located on the west side of Airport Road, north of Charles Street, and it was recently annexed into the city of Port Orange in June. As discussed during the public hearings for the voluntary annexation, the next step, as required by Florida statute, are to assign the city future land use and the city zoning classification. That's required by Florida statutes in order for us to have jurisdiction over the property that was recently annexed. So the subject applications that the applicant's requesting is to establish that city future land use designation and city zoning classification to support the development of a residential subdivision consistent with what was outlined in the annexation staff report and the public hearing discussion for the annexation at that time. The property is primarily cleared, vacant pasture land with a single-family home, detached garage, and pole barn located at the northeast corner of the subject property. Based on the aerial imagery available to staff, subject property has been this cleared pasture land since at least 1978. We've been told it was a lot longer than that, but that's the aerial imagery that we have. And according to the environmental report, there are no wetlands on the property. With the first
Guys, listen, hang on a second. We can't have that in here. We're going to let everybody speak tonight that has signed up to speak, okay? Please let the speakers and the presenters provide their information, okay? That is important. Go ahead.
Thank you. With the first item, the applicant is requesting to change the future land use map designation from approximately 52.96 acres of Volusia County agricultural resource and 3.57 acres of Volusia County low impact intensity to City of Port Orange rural transition. The rural transition future land use designation is intended for lands near Spruce Creek, its tributaries.
and where properties lie between agricultural uses and established residential neighborhoods with development limited to no more than 2 units per acre. The subject property meets this locational criteria for the Rural Transition Future Land Use designation, as it is situated adjacent to the Spruce Creek, bordered by agricultural land to the south and developed residential neighborhoods to the north, northeast, and west. Urban services are available in the Airport Road right-of-way to serve the site, and the proposed Vintage Acres PUD aligns with a maximum allowed density of 2 units per acre. According to the infrastructure impact analysis and the comprehensive plan amendment staff report, adequate capacity exists for sewer, potable water, solid waste, recreation, and schools to accommodate the proposed amendment. And as for traffic, only one roadway segment, Pioneer Trail from Airport Road to Turnbull Bay Road, was identified that may be above the adopted LOS standard. And as required by the Land Development Code, any future subdivision, plat, and plan for the subject property will be subject to all traffic concurrency regulations, requiring that adequate public facilities be provided or mitigated any of the impacts created by the proposed development at that time. Approval of a tri-party agreement for transportation fair share between the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, and the developer may be required at that time to address roadway network impacts. With the second item that was open, the applicant is requesting a rezoning of approximately 56.53 acres, consisting of 52.96 acres zoned Volusia County A1 and 3.57 acres zoned Volusia County A2 to City of Port Orange Planned Unit Development, and to establish the Vintage Acres Master Development Agreement and Conceptual Development Plan to establish the development framework for the proposed future single-family residential subdivision. The proposed Vintage Acres PUD allows for the development of up to 113 residential dwelling units, resulting in a density of 2 units per acre, consistent with the density of the surrounding area. The main public access point into the proposed subdivision will be from Airport Road. An emergency-only access will be provided as a connection to Charles Street, usable only during emergencies if the Airport Road access point is blocked. The gated emergency access will be maintained by the HOA in size to accommodate emergency vehicles. A right turn lane and left turn lane from Airport Road into the subdivision will be constructed, and all of these roadway improvements will be subject to approval through the Volusia County driveway permitting process, as they are the maintaining agencies of those roads. An 8-foot wide sidewalk will be constructed along Airport Road frontage of the subject property to connect to the existing Airport Road sidewalk and the internal subdivision sidewalk network. All streets within the subdivision are proposed to be public, designed in accordance with the city's local roadway standard, including a 4-foot sidewalk on both sides of the road. The proposed dimensional requirements for the PUD are generally consistent with adjacent city residential subdivisions in a PUD, and the proposed PUD will comply with the tree preservation requirements in the city's land development code and exceed the landscape buffer requirements. And when a future subdivision plat and plan is submitted, that formal review of the landscape and tree preservation areas will occur to verify that compliance. The proposed concept plan also indicates a minimum of 65% open space of the PUD, which exceeds the city's standard of a minimum 60% open space by 5% or 2.83 acres. According to the city's regulations, a subject property must be able to maintain stormwater on the property after development as it does prior to development or in its current undeveloped condition. Therefore, with the development of the subject property, there can be no loss in the ability to hold stormwater or an increase in the volume of stormwater discharged or the peak rate stormwater is discharged from the subject property into the regional drainage system. In addition to complying with these city regulations, the subject property will be required to meet all applicable state and regional permitting requirements for stormwater management, including those of the St. Johns River Water Management District, the Department of Environmental Protection, in Volusia County prior to any development on the subject property. Currently, stormwater on the undeveloped subject property is partially absorbed into the ground, with some collecting in low areas and ditches on the subject property. Runoff not absorbed or stored on site drains into the Volusia County maintained roadway swales along Charles Street, Russell Road, and Airport Road. From there, it flows towards a county maintained swale at the southwest intersection of Charles Street and Russell Road, then into Spruce Creek, and ultimately discharges into the Halifax River. According to the project engineer and the Vintage Acres MDA, there is text in the MDA that includes stormwater requirements that exceed the city's current requirements. Specifically, the MDA requires the stormwater system to reduce the peak flow rate stormwater can leave the site and the total volume of water that drains off the site by an additional 25% beyond the current requirements in the Land Development Code. To meet this higher standard in the PUD, stormwater ponds for the subdivision will be required to be larger and have additional capacity to store more stormwater on site than is currently required by the Land Development Code design storm event. Therefore, more of the subject property will be set aside for stormwater storage than would be required under the current code requirements. This added stormwater pond capacity is to hold more stormwater on site, reducing the amount of stormwater leaving the property during major storm events and going into the public drainage system. There are no policy deviations requested as part of this PUD. The proposed subdivision will comply with all applicable requirements of the city's Land Development Code, and according to the Master Development Agreement and Conceptual Development Plan, certain provisions within the PUD exceed minimum standards of the Land Development Code. If the proposed comprehensive plan amendment and Vintage Acres PUD are approved, the applicant must later submit a detailed subdivision plan that complies with the Master Development Agreement, Conceptual Development Plan, Land Development Code, and applicable state and regional requirements from the St. Johns River Water Management District, Department of Environmental Protection in Volusia County. Public notice signs were posted on the subject property on August 1st. Staff has received phone calls or emails from 13 individuals requesting general information on the proposed rezoning. And primarily the concerns raised during those calls were avoiding vehicular access onto Charles or Russell Road and potential drainage impacts. The applicant also held a neighborhood meeting on September the 4th. Approximately 45 residents attended that meeting, and according to the applicant's meeting summary, the main questions and concerns raised by the applicants included drainage, school capacity, and pedestrian safety. The Planning Commission recommended approval of both items. Staff is recommending approval of both items and is here to answer any questions you have, and the applicant is also here and I believe has an presentation they'd like to present.
Okay, we'll come back to you in just a bit then.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Catherine Pante. Sorry to make you get up twice, but come on up.
You can have the applicant speak first.
Yeah, but we're not. But we're going to want to ask questions later. They want to do that first.
They wanted to do their presentation.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Sorry, Catherine. I got to delay you one more time. Well, no. I'm sorry. Just
hang on,
we'll let them give their presentation first.
Just kidding.
Yeah. I just figured we would let you hear questions and you could address those later too. But go ahead.
I'd love to have that opportunity too, but
we'll see.
We'll see. Here we go. And good evening, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. Penny touched on a lot of what I'm going to touch on very briefly, but just to add some context and color to a lot of the conversations that have happened. This isn't something that happens overnight. These conversations are years in the making, that when you go to site design, when you're thinking about how to design these projects, it's a collaborative effort with a lot of consultants and a lot of staff time that doesn't seem readily apparent, because when you get a public notice sign that goes up in August, that's really, for a lot of folks, that's the first impression that you get, that you see a sign, you wonder what's going on, and you feel the impact. So with that in mind, I just want that to be clear that this is, you've been vetted over and over again when it comes through these processes, and it's not for lack of being pulled in all directions to try to make the best project you can, but these things just don't happen overnight. So like Penny had identified, this is an old farm. We have aerials going back several decades, but the easiest available ones were from '78, and really just to show that as Spruce Creek Flying was coming online and development was occurring, and a lot of the other subdivisions that are older in that area, that this was a farm. Penny had mentioned the future land use, the zoning, the request. Just to give you a context again, just of what's around, it's got residential communities in 3 directions. And the future land use designations
that you can see the transition that's occurring. And when it comes to what would appropriately be identified for this site, you can see the easy transition into the rural transition, why it would be 2 units an acre. Even in the county back in the 80s with the mobile home community, I think it's around 2.4 units per acre. So it's even more dense than us to the west of us, and it's clearly more dense to the north of us at closer to 3 units an acre. Here's historical aerials. I added one from '84 just to maybe give some more context. And like I was talking about with the evolution of this project and how it's moved, and a lot of it is feedback from staff, a lot of it is feedback from consultants, and it's originally the concept included a little bit of additional property, and it was at 153 units, and it moved down to 124 units, and then there's a redesign that occurs with the access point at Charles and one of the cul-de-sacs. And then we're at 119 units, and then we're again talking about Charles Street and how to accommodate concerns, given the folks to the south of the community that are feeling impacted. And the redesign that was agreed to required an emergency access only to keep residents and keeping it a little more private and a little more rural as you move south. Which brings us to today's plan, which is the 112 units plus the Ballman tract to the north. The points that Penny identified with the 65% in lieu of 60, we were able to capture 5% more acreage, or 5% more open space coverage. It's only 34.7% impervious. There's many projects that far exceed that. But the thing I think that's really nice about this project is 100% of the specimen trees are being preserved. It's part of the design that we don't want to impact those trees. That they're an amenity when it comes to this, but amenities come at a cost, and when you're talking about site design, and the minimum requirement for a site like this is 34. As Penny had alluded to, the stormwater discharge we're increasing beyond the 100-year. That's something we voluntarily agreed to as part of our PUD plan. It's going to discharge, as Penny identified, the runoff would be less, the volume, the rate. You get more volume, get less rate, creating more capacity into the system, and that's the overall goal through the stormwater design for this project. We've doubled the buffers on Russell Road, Charles, and Airport to give folks more screening, to make this a little more blend a little more than would typically be required by the PUD. And there's no waivers or variances. It checks every box. Every PUD box that you got, it checks. And again, it's dimensional standards are compatible. It's a give and take when you're talking about how you design stormwater, how you design the open space and those common tracks, and how to incorporate them in a way that clusters the development in some respects. But these are larger tracks, and it helps maintain the character and the surrounding neighborhood. The current, as Penny had mentioned, the roadway can accommodate the project volume, and there's left turns and right turn lanes being incorporated as part of the design to address that. And we're required to enter into a proportionate share agreement for impact fees, which can go towards other improvements or more specific improvements that may be required or maybe a priority for the city. We'd have a standard 24-foot wide lanes plus the 2-foot Miami cutters, so there's no issue with clearance in the community going in both directions. So it's in that way that you don't get an issue with the parking in the road, and there's plenty of clearance in the community, and for especially emergency vehicles. And the pedestrian concerns that were identified, again, the right turn and left turn lanes, so we have no problem with trying to create a pedestrian friendly access point to get to the school, make sure you can get to the sidewalk network. We have no problem with that, and there's sidewalks on both sides in this community, unlike some other projects that maybe incorporate sidewalks on one side. Just an example of some of the features that are going. These are larger upscale homes. They have architectural interests, enhanced curb appeal. It's supposed to be a quality community. It's and that's the goal from the developer side. He's a local builder, and I'll mention him briefly once we get to it. Just some artist sketches of the renderings of the entrance, the project again, and then as was mentioned in the neighborhood meeting, We've had many conversations post-meeting. The existing flight path was mentioned also. We were happy to address that concern too, that we have a covenant that is very clear in our documents that make it clear that you're moving into potentially a flight path community, that's the fly-in. That's not a problem. We were happy to address that. Management of the nutrients and stormwater runoff, part of the commitment we're making too with the upgrades to the stormwater system is that littoral plantings and trying to add that to the shelves of those ponds was also something that we're happy to do. Pedestrian safety and school route, again, those access points, we have the same concern and we're happy to do it to make sure that there's a safe way for folks to get to the school, for just to walk around the community or walk generally. And as Penny had identified, mitigate those risks when it comes to floods. We've designed a system at 125%. That's really what we're talking about, and that in itself is, besides being a benefit for volume, it's also a benefit for nitrogen and phosphorus because of the dry and wet retention that's now required for these type of projects. This is the flight paths that we were aware of, just to show that we're diligently looking at these issues too. We've agreed to the visual buffers. That's not a problem. The Florida-friendly plantings for the landscaping, we're happy to do that too. The HOA docks, again, we're next to a private airport community, and we recognize that, and so will folks that move into this community. And we've agreed to all those changes. That's not a problem. Just to quickly mention, the wet detention ponds is a volume that's 150% of what is required by city code. And that results in at least a 25% reduction in the 25-year and 100-year at a 24-hour storm event when it comes to rate, volume, everything. So and I had confirmed with Tim that there's no other project that meets that standard in the city. So we are at I guess both the guinea pigs and at the front end of something that is trying to be ahead of a concern and to do it the right way because we want to be a part of the solution. And you also have a local builder. I mean, it's most of the folks in here I'm sure can recognize Paytas Homes, and they've been a family that's lived in Port Orange all their since at least the 70s, and they're part of this community too, and they recognize that a lot of these projects are a reflection of them. So when you see names like Cypress Head, Sawgrass Point, building even in the fly-in, his name's on those. So he's also accountable to these folks too. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you get a rare mix of somebody who has local ties like this to a project that that just has that local connection. Again, the obvious stuff I think is there's new houses. It's a new tax base because when you're talking about how to fund these improvements, when the bigger discussions happen with stormwater, the money's got to come from somewhere. And we're not trying to be the problem. We're trying to be part of the solution. So when there's new revenues that come in that can address maybe the broader needs that for communities that didn't have stormwater standards or didn't develop with adequate stormwater infrastructure, that there's a way to tackle those problems rather than kicking the can later and saying that we'll come up with the money somehow. And it's a fillable pocket next to where you have 3 developments that predate to the 80s. That this isn't necessarily the most rural part of the county anymore. That you do have 2 major communities and the mobile home park there that are its neighbors. Other than that, we're happy to answer any questions. We're happy staff's recommendation plus the Planning Commission's recommendation. And if there's anything that we can do better, we're happy to. And we're always here to listen. I got very few calls too at the office, and I'm not shy about saying that you're welcome to call my office, even if it's 100 people. I'll try to get back to you. But it's the same thing that we all work here. We all are trying to do the right thing. And as much as it's maybe painful for folks when it comes to these big storm events, trying to throw out a good project because is what I don't want to happen. So if there's any questions or we're listening to feedback, we're happy to address them, but we'll be available.
Thank you. Don't go too far. Okay. All right. Catherine.
Are you sure?
I promise I won't make you sit back down. My apologies for that. Welcome.
Okay. Good evening, Commission. Catherine Pante, Slow Growth Volusia. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition to the proposed Vintage Acres development. The builder has annexed approximately 56 acres from Volusia County into the city of Port Orange, effectively bypassing the Samsula local plan. The plan was created to preserve the low-density, rural, and agricultural character of Samsula, a community with deep historic roots and a distinctive way of life. If a rural boundary charter amendment were in place, residents would have a greater voice in determining what lands are annexed and how our communities grow. Across Port Orange and throughout Volusia County, we've seen the harmful consequences of overdevelopment, particularly increased flooding that threatens homes, roads, and public health. Despite these ongoing issues, new high-density projects continue to be approved, compounding the risks. As a commission, you have both the authority and responsibility to protect public safety, health, and welfare. You're not obligated to approve developments that endanger residents or underlying community plans. It is time for the city of Port Orange to take a stand to prioritize its citizens over developers and ensure growth happens responsibly, sustainably, and safely. Adding yet another development when existing residents have flooded multiple times is not ensuring growth is happening responsibly and safely. Part of the solution is not creating or adding to the existing flooding by building other subdivisions. Is Patum's Homes willing to carry a bond in the event people flood yet again from another development? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Pennant, Mike,
Poniatowski.
that one. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And it'll be followed by David Gall. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, City Manager, Commission members, staff, visitors, thank you for listening today. So this piece of property was in the Samsula overlay zone, as Catherine said, where we had a lot of restrictions so that it would maintain its rural presentation. That pasture land holds 1.5 million gallons of stormwater per acre. Do the math, and that's from the St. John's Management Water District. Do the math, that's 84 million gallons of stormwater that property holds over a 5-inch rain over 1 or 2 days. Now we had about 4 or 5 inches of rain at the beginning of September, didn't we? We had many roads, many properties flooded in the city of Port Orange. Those properties were flooded directly as a result of projects that this commission approved, listening to your staff, listening to the developer, listening to their attorneys and their engineers saying they would not flood adjacent properties. I'm a victim of that. The Westport subdivision on Towns West has flooded my property and multiple neighbors' properties multiple times over the past several years, including Ian, Milton, and just this rain we had at the beginning of September, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. And I think you've all been notified of that, especially recently from a law firm. So we're going to make sure that, and by the way, did we get the flood bond that we were promised at zoning and planning when this came up for approval? Because we were told there would be a flood bond on this property to protect the neighbors. Did that come to fruition, staff? Did that happen? Did we get a number? Did we get a year? I'm not sure. I didn't hear that. I haven't seen it in the presentation, haven't seen it in the paperwork. But those are some of the things that we're told when we came here for zoning and planning. And sat for 3 hours and we asked for a flood bond. Not sure that ever happened. We listened to the attorney saying and the engineer saying they were going to hold all that stormwater. They're not going to hold 84 million gallons of stormwater in those detention ponds during a major rain event. It's going to flood out, flood neighbors. It's going to flood into Spruce Creek, a protected waterway, the way other properties do, because we don't look at all of our development in congregate. We look at them individually. We just say, well, here's development, let's prove it, let's get it done. You don't understand what all this does cumulatively across the neighborhoods and communities. It floods because we haven't cleared these waterways. We're using mosquito control ditches that have been around for 60 years that haven't been improved to now contain or flow all that tailwater that accumulates and runs off of the fill and build that we continue to approve. They're going to add about 9 feet of fill onto this property. That water's got to go somewhere. It's going to go into those ponds and out into the neighborhoods. Thanks for listening. We need to understand what we're doing overall.
Thank
you.
David Gall. And after Mr. Gall will be Sue Larkin.
Hi, I'm David Gall. I
Welcome.
live in Spruce Creek Fly-In. I live in a Paytas home. Thank you very much. I'm concerned that Mr. Paytas is now going to flood my home. Thank you very much. I would like to contest some of the things that the lawyer said a minute ago. I think it's kind of specious to claim that Spruce Creek Fly-In is 3 units per acre. You can look at the drawing on the map and see that the houses to the north side of that beautiful PowerPoint presentation actually have larger lots than are proposed here tonight. And if these are 2 units per acre, I can't imagine that we've squeezed more houses into bigger lots just north of that. So I would contest that characterization of 3 units per acre at Spruce Creek Fly-In. I've got a few notes here, but I don't have time to cover it all, and I'm very nervous. I apologize. I'm reminded of a story when I hear this 25% reduction in drainage from a piece of pasture land, which, by the way, I drove out there on Sunday. It hasn't rained there very much, and on Sunday, the west side of that pasture land was still underwater. So as far as it not being a wetland, that's why everybody in the audience laughed, because it's underwater right now, and it hasn't had significant rain for the last several months. We haven't had a hurricane this season, nothing, and yet that pasture land is underwater today. And I would also like to point out that you have one person entity, a corporation, and a room full of hundreds of people who are here and virtually here, who are protesting this. And I would like to have 12 minutes in a PowerPoint presentation, but I don't have that luxury. So I'm going to get to the point. 25% reduction in drainage. 100 years ago, a traveling salesman went around the Midwest selling refrigerators before the rural electrification program. They used gas. A farmer watched a man put in a refrigerator one time, and he said, "You're going to have to convince me how you can build a fire under a box and make it cold inside." 25% reduction in stormwater drainage is a magic miracle that will not happen. You have not reinvented the refrigerator. And saying that you're going to preserve the existing trees is very specious, since there's only about 6 trees on the lot today. The only way you're going to increase the amount of water leaving that piece of property, whether you build on it or not, is to put a lot more trees on it, not water retention ponds. I see that I'm out of time, so I'll stop now, but I have much more. You're welcome to call me also, just as you're welcome to call the proponent's lawyer. My phone number is on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Larkin. And then after Ms. Larkin will be Adam Dovey. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Sue Larkin. I live on Whisperwood Way. I'm also in the Fly-In. I'm not against development, but I am against harming the existing area surrounding proposed developments. What's happening here with Vintage Acres is disturbing. The City Council may not be aware or may not have been aware, but what's happening is unacceptable. The existence of the Samsula local plan, which was an agreement with Volusia County to maintain the rural and agricultural nature of this property, was completely negated by the voluntary annexation, which was requested by the attorney and the builder. There are approximately a dozen local plans in Volusia County, all of which are designed to preserve and protect the nature of each area. Protect those areas from overdevelopment and from flooding the neighboring properties. By allowing the annexation and then development of this property, all of that goes away. It's fair game. As I said, I don't know if the City Council was aware, but apparently the attorney for the builder as well as the builder was aware, because there were prior deals on this land that fell through because of the Samsula local plan. They were aware. The way that this was accomplished appears to be sneaky and without integrity. The results are going to be flooding. A lot of homes in the area that have never flooded are going to flood. That whole 56 acres is a giant sponge, and it turns into a giant lake. And any one of us have a dozen pictures of cows out there up to their bellies in water, not just during hurricanes, but during big storms. Additionally, Paytas built the homes on Springwater Lane, which is just directly north of this. So as much as he doesn't want to flood his own homes, that is exactly what's going to happen. So thank you for letting me speak tonight, and I hope you give this great consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam? And then Paul Holmes. Welcome.
How you guys doing? Mayor, council members, council, and Mr. Manager, Sir Manager, I don't know how it works.
That's right, you covered it all.
My name's Adam Dovey. I was born and raised here, actually born in Quiet Place behind the said project back in the 70s. So a little bit of context on this city. I remember when they built this building. It was pretty cool. I love this town. I was born here, raised my family here, raising my family here. My business is here. Penny's fantastic. I've dealt with her for years. There is a right way and a wrong way to do this stuff. We've looked over the dollar to pick up the dime for 3 decades now, 2 decades, give or take. I follow a lot of this stuff on what we develop. Daytona has set a very good example of what not to do by overdevelopment and has caused their amateur hour policies to flood down the Nova Canal and then show up in our backyard. There's a lot of stuff about what it's going to happen. A lot of people here are smarter than me. All I can do is speak to what I see, common sense, what I've lived, and it's a little ridiculous. I will say, we've got good lawyers in this room. The whole 2 houses per acre, it's a little slimy, because it's not. It's 2 houses per total. So I'm assuming per developed acre, we're going to be maybe 0.2 or 0.19 acres per house. It's a different picture. The gentleman that was up here before me kind of alluded to that, didn't know exactly how to phrase it, but it is like Miami. I don't understand why we're taking such an amazing town, of where I used to dirt bike and four-wheel, and turn it into what everybody's trying to escape. I live now in off of near Madeline. The decisions we made in the past couple years on Madeline, not my idea of a good decision, but all the water flowing down there, all the traffic issues, all the problems that we can easily avert by just taking a step back and seeing where we stand versus where we're going. I do windows and doors. I'm in construction, and I'm against this. Cypress Head, Water's Edge, something that's relevant close. I walk those houses all the time. They're flooded in between every house. It's not a surprise. And those aren't 0 lot lines. And I misspoke earlier. I said this was going to be 0 lot line. It's not. But if those developments that were done right are flooded for the past 30 years, how is something that looks exactly like it going to be any different? But I'm running out of time. I have to get home to protect my 4-year-old, my 9-year-old in bed. And I hope that in 30 years, they can enjoy the city like I got to enjoy the city, not just another metropolitan housing dump or concrete jungle. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul Holmes, come on up, Paul. Welcome. And after Paul will be Denisha Stevens, maybe? Stearns, sorry.
Hi, my name's Paul Holmes. I live in Spruce Creek. First of all, I'd like to give a hats off to the police of Port Orange here. I think they do an excellent job. We really appreciate them where we live, and hats off to them, and thank you very much. I'm going to start with just kind of facts. There'll be a lot of people talking about how bad this is. I'm just going to tell you a direction that this community is going that I hate to see, but it's going in that direction. So at the Planning Committee, the Planning Commission meeting on September 25th last month, Jim Paytas said, and I'm quoting exactly, "I'm fighting the battle of trying to get some lots inventory." That's what he's doing, folks. He's right. He got that right. This is both a fight and a battle. And fortunately for those citizens behind me in red, it's a really well-funded battle. We have received, those people behind us have received $36,000 put in actual accounts to fight this week. And they're going to start off with just simple stuff. Here we have lawn signs. These cost 87 cents. Guess how much a bumper sticker costs? 67 cents. We're earmarking $36,000 for lawn signs and bumper stickers. There's only 27,000 homes in the community. We can easily get one on each home. Then after that, there'll be social media posts. You guys kind of pushed us back on our heels on this. We didn't know this was coming. We feel it was a little bit sneaky the way you annexed that in there. I know it's legal, but it doesn't feel good on our side. Believe me, when it's one time, it's a cow pasture, and the next minute, all the rules change in one fell swoop, one meeting. It's not right. So there'll be YouTube videos. We'll be filming all of the people that have lost things in Volusia County. This is a county-wide issue. People love to talk about this. It's all coming up. We've got thousands and thousands of dollars to make these YouTube, and these are real people behind me. All of them have a story, and we're going to get it out. Then there'll be an advertising blitz. We have $100,000 earmarked through private monies, and I know personally for a fact that Spruce Creek Fly-In has got $250,000 earmarked against this development. Then there'll be picketing. The picketing is going to come at Paytas offices. Of course, where else would we go? Anyway, I just want to say, Jim, the choice is yours. Please stop this. Please don't go down this path. It's very decisive for our community. We don't like it, and I don't think you're going to like the end. I think it's going to be your Bud Light moment. I'm sorry about that.
Welcome. After Denisha will be Meredith Cassandra. Welcome. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Denisha Stearns. I live at 3705 Lacey Lane, and that is in the Samsula Estates Mobile Home Park area. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the most obvious problem that people seem to have about this Vintage Acres, and that is the flooding issue. I know that that Penny spoke, and the engineer and the attorney all have said that there would be like a no net loss and no net increase in flooding and in flow and in volume, and in fact a 25% reduction, and that would be awesome if that happened. That would be awesome for our community and the other communities. But let me tell you what happened in Ian. Okay, Hurricane Ian came, and now we did not evacuate. My husband and I live on the corner of Russell Road, which runs adjacent to the back of Vintage Acres. And so we saw at least a foot of water, a river that came from Water's Edge across the Vintage Acre Plat and into our neighborhood. Okay, and we live, according to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, we live on the highest elevation in our neighborhood at 20 to 21 feet. Okay, and we have neighbors that, as you go towards the creek, they live much lower. So their damage was worse. Okay, so this is my suggestion and my hope is that as this project is going forward and being considered by you, that you would ask the engineer and even insist that the engineer use the predictive software that he used to get that negative 25% flow and volume, and redo it. First adding about a foot of water that's flowing like a river on top of Vintage Acres, and then add the 20 other inches of rain, or 10 inches even, as a not a 100-year event, but maybe a 50-year event, and see what the data bears out. And if it bears out that you're still getting 25%, 0% net loss, then great. But insist on those facts and those figures, and then we'll be talking more about reality of what we experienced during Ian, during Milton, during Nicole in the flooding. So thank you very much.
Thank you. After After Meredith, we'll have Victor Lopez.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Meredith Cassandra. I live at 1849 Spruce Creek Boulevard. I moved here to get away from exactly what Port Orange and Volusia County is becoming, a concrete jungle. I worked very hard and was fortunate enough to be able to buy my dream home in my dream community just last year. This is my forever home. I finally found the place where I belong, and I plan on passing it down to my daughter. Spruce Creek, but I live on Spruce Creek, and if this development is built, I and so many other homes along the creek and homes not on the creek will absolutely flood. And continue to flood every time a hurricane or even just a big rain event comes through. I won't be able to afford to rebuild and clean up every time this happens. We have all witnessed the flooding that all the new development you approved is causing. If you don't stop the overdevelopment and instead focus on figuring out a way to deal with the flooding mess that has already been created, this city will become unlivable. Do you really want to be known as a member of the city council that failed its residents? I attended the Planning Commission meeting where the commission sat here and listened to so many people voice their serious concerns. One member of the commission told us that they joined the commission to stop development and then voted yes. I left that meeting feeling really sad. I don't understand why you continue to develop at this rate after seeing the devastation that it has already caused. When is enough enough? Why are you not considering all of the residents in the area surrounding this land? You have people who have lived there for years, whose entire lives and everything they have worked so hard for will be destroyed. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. After Mr. Lopez will be Susie Holmes.
Paul Victor Lopez. I live on Springwater Lane, right across from this development proposed. You heard the laughter when people said this isn't a wet area. Oh, yes, it is. This is part of the surge area on Volusia County's map for Spruce Creek. When Spruce Creek overflows, it floods right into this area. It gets 2, 3, 4, 5 feet high, 1,000 feet wide. It's flooded now, right across from my house. You build on it, that water's still going to have to go someplace. The surge area from Spruce Creek is going to have to go someplace. What they say they're going to discharge, that isn't going to happen because Spruce Creek's going to back them right up. What bothers me also is that they couldn't get this through Volusia County. Now, we recently took the commission from Volusia County on a tour through Spruce Creek. We showed them how high the water is. I think it was 10 or 12 feet over the Lear Bridge alone. This is only going to exacerbate this problem. You were elected by the people of Port Orange to serve the people. These people, especially the ones in the trailer parks, they're going to be the worst. They're going to flood the fastest and they're going to flood the highest. We'll survive a little bit more. Maybe we can get flood insurance, bond insurance, whatever. But God, I moved out of New York 40 years ago to come to Florida so I wouldn't have to sit in an asphalt jungle. Now he's taking 56 acres and he's telling you, oh yeah, it's 2 per acre. Well, guess what? He's putting it all on 10. The other 40 acres is off to the side. It's used for different areas. He's building it like Queens, New York. So I would say to you, put this off. One more meeting. Come, take a look at Spruce Creek. We'll show you where the watermarks are. We'll show you the property. Walk it with me and see what they want to do. Then come back and make your decision. You can't tell from all these things that you're looking at on paper. Please, the people elected you. Vote for the people. Thank you.
Susie Holmes and then Gary Singleton. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Susie Holmes. I live in Volusia County, Spruce Creek, Flyin. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak about the Vintage Acres development. First, I want to address what the attorney said, which there were many comments about how great this project was, but particularly I want to say, he says this project checks all of the boxes. Those are the boxes for Port Orange. Just last June, those boxes to be checked were 1 home per acre in the Samsula area. So checking all of the boxes are what somehow it was finagled into Port Orange And those are the new boxes. Those aren't the boxes that we're looking for to be checked. We're looking for the Samsula boxes. That's what needs to be done. Next, I'd like to say to Jim Paitis, to plead to you directly. You've been on your phone most of the time or laughing with the guy sitting next to you while people are talking, which I think is really disrespectful.
Yeah. You have to address the council.
Okay. The Paitis family has built beautiful homes and developed beautiful communities throughout our area. At the last planning meeting, Jim said to the commission himself that he would just wanted to be a home builder. He said that it was hard for him to find lots to build on, so he had to become a developer. It sounded to me like he meant our area is out of land to build on. I have 2 suggestions or requests for developers going forward to help with drainage or flooding. Build Vintage Acres with the correct zoning that existed only a few months ago before it was changed to Port Orange zoning, which was 1 house per 10 acres. These could be beautiful homes with beautiful big lots. By building Vintage Acres with the previous zoning of 10-acre lots, we would secure Samsula's royal plan and have no negative impact on flooding Samsula and the surrounding neighborhoods. My other suggestion to be for people who want to be home builders is to find more lots to build on that could redevelop dilapidated communities. Like Lori Becker said, build back better. There are plenty of tear down homes in our area. So please look at rebuilding areas with dilapidated homes that would also increase the community's tax base and help with flooding and drainage problems. These homes already have utilities and dense residential zoning. Therefore, the new homes would not contribute to the drainage and flooding issues that our county faces. Please consider the suggestions to keep the Paitis brand respected in our community, build on bigger lots, and start a beautification initiative to tear down homes and rebuild them on the lots. In my opinion, it would secure the family's legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. After Mr. Singleton, we'll have Jan Albert.
My name's Gary Singleton. You speak of rights and rules and laws, but there are greater rights and rules and laws, and one of those is whatever you do to the part, you do to the whole. Everything is connected. Vintage Acres will have its harmful effects on the entire Spruce Creek Basin. As you narrowly focus on ensuring that all of the rules are being followed, you refuse to acknowledge how this one project will affect the entire basin as well as every one of its tributaries. You'll be satisfied with retention systems that the state presumes to be adequate, even as these types of systems are failing all over Volusia County. Stormwater does not recognize municipal boundaries. The floodwaters produced inside the city of Port Orange will not be confined to your citizens. We are doing all we can to make you aware of the fact that Spruce Creek Basin simply can't handle any additional stress from overwhelming runoff. By the time you realize what you've done, it will be too late. Too late for those who will have lost everything to the greater rights, rules, and laws you choose to ignore.
Thank you. Jan Albert.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jan Albert, and I live in a quiet place in the country on Country Circle East on the creek. But I have been a Appraisal Institute appraiser and hydrologist for 53 years. And I want to discuss the storm management standards regarding this division. Now, normally you would say that a PUD would be superior, but in this case it isn't, because those 60 by 100 foot lots, you're going to concentrate the whole 113 in a small clump, which the idea behind it is to save trees and other things and have ponds. But the trouble is that those figures that were given are just impossible. I have 18,000 days of data. That's over 50 years of keeping records 300 feet to the west of this property, which is my property. And I know every day how much rain we've had. And as a hydrologist, I know that we average around 6 to 7 5-inch rains. So that would be about 125 million gallons. And those retention ponds, while great, they're 2 inches from the water table because that site, as Denisha mentioned, it's 18 feet elevation. And so it'd be like taking a glass of water. If you have an 8-ounce glass of water and you have 6 ounces in it, and you try to put another 8 ounces in there, you're not getting it in. 2 ounces will go in, the rest is going out. So to say that you're going to keep it to 25%, that's impossible. And the problem is that this storm runoff going to the creek, which already has 5 hurricanes worth of silt at all the meander points, has not cleared, will be breaking House Bill 503 and state and federal laws. So it's got to be drawn a different way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who didn't get a chance to fill out a card that had something else they wanted to offer? Robert, come on up. I'm not sure I'm allowed to let you speak with an orange shirt on. Go ahead.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. My comment is that, I spoke against this at the annexation. And I went through that data packet, the agenda packet, really thoroughly. And I tried to do that every time, go through this packet. And this agreement that I just heard about tonight, about the Samsula agreement that would have put restrictions on that property, that comes as a total surprise. And I don't know why the staff would not have put that into the data packet, because that's critical information to know about restrictions on the use of this property. So I would like to say again, do not do this. Turn it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Is there anybody else? All right, back to council. Mr. City Manager, anything from any of the comments or any of the information that you need to correct and set straight on that?
I think when you get the applicant back, they should address the bond issue. I think it's more related to maintenance of the facilities, but let them clarify that, and then you probably want them to have their engineer address some of the questions about how the stormwater facilities work. Those were the 2 items I picked up.
All right, and we'll do that. We'll touch base with council here first. Lance, we're going to start with you.
No, I got nothing right now. I want to continue to listen.
Okay. Sean?
I have nothing.
Tracy?
What Wayne was talking about on the bond and all, we'll get to that when it comes up here.
Okay. And you want to come back up?
Good evening again, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. The bond language is in the PD. We agreed to that. We are happy to do it. We're confident in the stormwater system. It repairs, maintenance obligations for a perpetual bond. In the agreement itself is outlined for a 30-year period that we're required to do it. Again, not aware of any project that makes that commitment in a PD, but that's posted online. It's publicly available. But that is the commitment we made, and that was the representation made at planning board. So that is in our agreement.
Can you specify what?
Yeah, I think you need to clarify, because I think there were people that think you're putting up a bond to protect them if they flood off-site. This is to maintain the stormwater facilities on your property.
That is correct.
In the event the HOA doesn't exist anymore to maintain them, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Because that would be the contributing factor that would create the issue, that it's the maintenance of our stormwater facilities and to ensure they're maintained. And again, the discussion that was at planning board or planning commission was around what happens in 10 years, 20 years. Those discussions, that how do you ensure that your system's functioning? That was the commitment we were making, and that's the commitment we put in writing. The other points I wanted to quickly touch on, and I'm happy to get the engineer up to talk to specifics. again, we're talking about in the agreement an outlined commitment that it's a 25% reduction on the 25-year 24-hour and the 100-year 24-hour. It's not the existing condition. The existing condition is you have no stormwater maintenance or stormwater control. So the water goes where it goes. That's, I think, important clarification that was lost in the discussion. And as to the trees, the specimen trees, the big trees, the trees that are the ones that you want to preserve, that want to, again, as folks that I hear a lot of, that they want to keep there to be those anchors that absorb the water and those type of things. Those are staying. None of them are being removed. And there's, if I remember, it was 41 or 43. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's 43 of them that they're not going anywhere. And the other thing too is there's not a wetland. This isn't a wetland. It's a farm. I understand that may be hard to accept that it's a farm. It's not a wetland. It's not jurisdictional in any way. That's the reality of what this piece of property is. And the other thing too that I wanted to mention is that a little bit of the discussion is around this idea that lots is equating to stormwater. To a degree, that's understandable, but really what controls stormwater is your system. That, how do you design it? How do you design it? What standard do you design it to? That's the part that is lost in this discussion, that, the lot sizes are indicative of the stormwater, what stormwater event we're designing to. And that isn't true. That this system is being designed to accommodate a stormwater event or a major event, a system that doesn't exist in the city. That's the commitment. It's not relative necessarily to the lot count, that if you take lots off that somehow the design of the system is better. So I just want to make that clear. So other than that, I'll defer to the engineer to really walk through the specifics for everybody. And if there's any specific questions, I am happy to answer them.
I want to go back to the trees that you say are staying on there, because when you look at this lot, those are all the trees along the south side, running along the road, and then there's a ditch between those trees and the actual road.
Yes, to a large extent, that's correct.
Right, and then when you make a right-hand turn and head back north, there's a ditch between this lot and that street, and there's some trees that sit along there. Those are the specimen trees you're talking about leaving?
And there's some to the front too.
Okay, thank you.
We'll let the engineer come up. Welcome.
Good evening, Harry Newkirk, Newkirk Engineering, 1230 North US Highway 1, Ormond Beach. I've been doing this for quite a long time, 24 years. When I first started out, stormwater was designed like the fly-ins. That was the system. That's what we did 24 years ago. And since then, the stormwater rules through the state of Florida, St. Johns River Water District, changed about 10 times. And in this area, in this specific area where we're doing this project, there's not one project designed per the new rules, what you got to do now. And these new rules are put in place to require you to get rid of just doing a wet detention pond system. Wet detention pond systems flow out. They have a lot of controlled flow off the site that doesn't remove nutrients. So the state of Florida changed these rules to add best management practices. You got to do call it a treatment train, multiple disciplines of stormwater to reduce off-site stormwater. There's no way to get around it. It's very difficult to get to work. It usually has about 4 submittals, 4 or 5, over 5 submittals to St. John's to get approved on one of these projects nowadays. So, and at the same time, this will be reviewed by the city. It's going to be reviewed by Volusia County. It's going to be reviewed by St. John's. It's going to be reviewed by Army Corps with the new state rules. The system, to make these new rules work, yes, you have to fill a site, because nowadays you wouldn't build a site at the existing grade, or you would probably have storm flooding problems, right? So everything comes up. Yes, I'm just saying, you don't build at existing grade. You build up, just like you see DOT building all their roads up, all their bridges are up. People are building for the future. And when you're building for the future, you're using these new rules in place. So you have to have roughly 30% of your site in stormwater. When I first started, we were doing 10%. Then it went to 15, then 20. Now it's at 30% of your site has to be stormwater to even have a conversation of it working. Because sometimes you go underneath the pavement and stuff you see down on commercial properties. We're not doing that here because it's residential. You don't do that in residential developments. So we have 30% of the site, and at the same time, we put additional criteria in to reduce the rate, runoff rate volume into these ditches that go to Spruce Creek by 25%. When we do that, we're going to put less water into those ditches, and when we do that, the flood stage of those ditches goes down, and some of those properties that say they're experiencing flooding, flood stations will drop down because they'll be able to get into the off-site ditches to Spruce Creek quicker. That's the idea of adding all this stormwater to the site. And the way it works is it goes from the houses. The houses will sheet flow in the back to dry retention ponds. The front will go to roads. The roads will have pipes that convey to the dry retention ponds. Dry retention ponds are first flush, pre-treatment. They call it pre-treatment. And why it's good to do dry retention is because you get infiltration, you get stormwater removal that does not go into the next system, which is the wet detention pond. So your 5 inches of rain, this site's not going to even discharge in 5 inches of rain. Not from the development when you have to do this additional 25%. Just not going to happen. So we're going to be doing dry, then it overflows and goes into the wet. The wet systems are designed 150% larger than what the city requires right now. So you got that additional volume in there that we're holding back, and then we can discharge it into the ditch. At the same time, we'll have littoral zones and other measures in there that's going to be required for us to remove 99% of the nutrients. And when we talk nutrients, you're looking at nitrogen and phosphorus because they're worried about Spruce Creek to the river, to the bays, protecting the environment. So and when you hear that, a lot of people go, we don't care about nutrients. You care about nutrients because it makes the stormwater system bigger. And when you make the stormwater system bigger, you're enhancing the off-site flows. Everybody in every meeting I go to, it's all about stormwater now. It used to be traffic. Traffic was hot. 10 years ago, it was all about traffic. And you've been on these boards long enough, you know it was traffic. Now it's stormwater. And it's rightful so. But I believe, and I know, that we're the first in the area to add on top of the state standards. The state standards are not easy to deal with. We're adding the 25% rate and volume reduction, even more above those standards. So we know that when we discharge off this property, we're going to be a benefit to these ditches, thus helping the surrounding neighborhoods. Any questions?
Hang on.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for the engineer, Tracy? Lance?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Mr. Paytas, did you want to speak? You don't have to. Just. All right. There you go.
Jim Paytas, right here at 908 Taylor Road. I did make a couple other commitments. A neighbor here, I've talked to all the neighbors around there, or not all of them, but the ones that are in front that are being affected by this. I know there's some to the south that we're talking about tonight. But I did make some commitments there to create privacy around the perimeter with the walking path for him, and also offer to be able to connect to utilities there if that's in his best interest, as well as blocking some headlights that pull in. So I want to make that known here as well. All the other stuff, I'm just not going to let it get to me. I know what it's like. I do the best I can, and I know that. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Penny, can you come back up? I'm going to come back to the council here, so I figured you might as well be close at hand. Mm-hmm. So, can you talk a little bit about that regional area, not specifically to this property, but regionally in the topography of the area with regard to the Spruce Creek Basin. How much of that regional area is actually all going to that Spruce Creek Basin area? Roughly. I mean, I'm not trying to say exact.
Yeah,
but-
that's not my specialization,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
But that's what we have a team of engineers that analyze, and I just want to reiterate that tonight we're here for land use
Right.
and zoning. So we don't have detailed stormwater engineering or anything that anyone's reviewed. Right now, we're looking at land use and zoning and legal development regulations in a legal master development agreement, basically their own mini land development code that they are going to have to be held to if approved when they do come in with engineered plans. And so right now, what staff has analyzed and looked at is the rules that they'll have to play by when they come in for future development if approved. And so that's what's being analyzed, is that they're basically following the code and exceeding the code in the certain areas that were outlined. So that's what's being presented tonight, are the rules.
And I apologize, I don't mean to put you on the,
That's
spot,
fine.
but conceptually, there's a lot in this broader discussion, and City Manager, you're welcome to jump in. So I guess what, one of the ideas or thoughts that keeps coming to mind is, as we discuss land use, future land use, and how that will go hand in hand with what is the area capable of handling, and what are those problems now. I know that the county has implemented a Spruce Creek Basin study. Isn't this property in that geographical area that's impacted by and
I
would be
believe so,
impacted by that
yes,
study?
Yes, and
Okay.
so all that would be analyzed in that stormwater analysis if the land use and zoning is approved and it were to come forward with subdivision plans.
Mhm.
That detailed stormwater analysis, all that would be taken into consideration at that time.
Okay. Tracy, let's start with you.
So really probably go first with the flood bond, wrapping my head around that one. Flood bond, what you're saying is it is to maintain the retention and the ponds for the next 30 years is what that bond is for. What does it do if retention and pond lets loose and causes catastrophic downriver?
I think it may be better characterized as a maintenance bond.
Okay.
That's really, I think the flood bond's probably a misnomer.
Okay, so it's a maintenance bond. It doesn't do anything if something fails.
Well, but the point of it is to ensure that it
doesn't
doesn't fail.
fail. Yeah, I
That's
understand.
the goal, and if you're doing the appropriate maintenance and you have somebody out there that, one, has a commitment from a bond side, that has a city commitment, that has an HOA commitment, doing it the right way, that's the way to handle it. And there should be no failure. That's the point of that assurance.
Let me take a stab at this, because you may not be aware of some of the discussions that we've had up here in the last few months. So one of the things that we have noticed in our city is that communities have a tendency to move into areas that have an HOA, where common areas and ponds and ditches and stuff are being maintained, and then a day comes and residents decide they don't want to have an HOA anymore. So now those things are no longer being maintained, right? They don't belong to the city, they belong incrementally to the residents in that area. And I think, is that what we're talking about, is something that kind of protects that if you were to build all these homes and then in 5 years, when the HOA is relinquished over to the actual homeowners, they say, we don't want to have an HOA anymore, and now who's maintaining all those stormwater assets? I think that's what we're trying to make sure we're understanding. I see a lot of head nodding. I'll let you, Matt, is that kind of what your understanding is here?
Yeah, this bond guarantees 30 years of proper maintenance of that stormwater facility that ends up getting permitted.
Okay.
And it gives the city an enforcement right to that too. So even if, in the worst case scenario, there's a lapse in the HOA, the city as an enforcement mechanism is not out of pocket, that they can enforce that right, which is exactly the issue you run into in these other communities. There's a back and forth at who's paying. And well, we've taken that out of the equation.
Okay. Penny, these are going to be directed to you. So I know you got this. You said in there roadway LOS. Talk to me. What is an LOS?
Level of service standard. So it's all public facilities have a level of service standard.
All right.
And so that's what in the comprehensive plan staff report, there was a table and then some paragraphs after it that did the mandatory analysis at that theoretical max.
So as of right now, the roadway out there will hold a capacity, and it's meeting that capacity if
Correct.
we put that in.
Yes, there was one segment that showed with existing reservations in other areas, there being a potential issue. That will get reanalyzed at actual development plan stage, and at that point, if that's an issue there, then that's when the concurrency review, the adequate public facility review comes into play, where we can't approve their actual development plans, their subdivision plan plans, unless there's either a physical improvement that's part of it to address it, or a mitigation option to address it.
Okay. And I know last time you talked about it, and I just want to make sure this is still on record, dealing with police and fire. We did a comprehensive study to make sure that EMS, nothing is impeded with higher density of population.
Correct. So they were part of the annexation review where we did that initial impact analysis, and their capacity was there, their service capacity, everything met the requirements. They're also part of all these reviews as well, and they will also be part of the development review. If this gets approved and it moves forward to subdivision plans, they would be part of that design review as well.
Okay. I know you can't speak for it, but did y'all do a review as far as school capacities?
Yes, it's required. We cannot move forward to any public hearings without approval from the Volusia County School District. So that certification is an exhibit in your comprehensive plan and in your zoning packet.
Okay.
And they will also have to give us another approval at the development phase when it comes forward to subdivision plans. At this phase, they have a reservation approval, and then at the next phase, they have a concurrency certificate approval.
Okay. That's it for now.
That's it.
I have nothing for the staff or the developer.
Staff comments, questions, right now's the time.
So I appreciate everybody coming in and expressing their concerns. It's not the first time residents in Port Orange have come into these council chambers and talked about developments that were going to be developed and their concerns about flooding. Your development, when it started happening, you probably had people in here going, what are you doing building homes out there around that airport? Because that airport's been there a long time. And the developer built those homes, and you moved into them, and you love them, and you want to protect them, and I get that. When Water's Edge got developed, does anyone remember what it was prior to that development? Correct. How many trees did it have on it? None. It was flat. It had no trees.
It had cypress heads on it.
Correct. And it has cypress heads on it now. And it has a hell of a lot more trees on it than it ever did before. So we hear a lot about developers coming in and wiping the land clear and then building on it. This land's clear. This developer's going to add some homes, and he's going to add over 400 something trees that we need in this city. And like those developments that are across the street to the east at Water's Edge, Cypress Head, Sable Creek, Pinnacle Park, Ashton Lakes, all those wonderful places where people love to live, all 65,000 of us in this city love Port Orange, are because developers had the foresight to say, hey, I want to build something special out there. And a lot of those neighborhoods are very special. Now, there's a lot of neighborhoods in this area that are not. Towns West Boulevard, I'm not a fan of it. D.R. Horton, national builder. Jones, national builder. Paytas Homes, I've lived in his houses, I've lived in his neighborhoods. Good stuff. And we have a gentleman wanting to commit to this community to provide homes like you live in right now. And you want to shut the door on that. And I just don't think that's fair. And a gentleman talked about South Florida. Oh, I grew up in South Florida. And I watched them go all the way to the Everglades, and now they're coming back. And they're buying up, and they're doing redevelopment. They're taking small homes on a couple acres, and they're putting 11 units in there. I will never approve something like that. I might do a redevelopment down in Ridgewood, but not out here. This makes sense. This is exactly what you live in right now. And yeah, that flooding that happens on that right now, that pasture that gets that water, it goes wherever it wants to, because there's nothing containing it. There's nothing controlling it. And it probably didn't flood as much when your neighborhood was a vacant lot. So the difference between the development of Spruce Creek and the development of Water's Edge and the development of everything east of 95 is that the state has stepped in and said there's requirements that we have to meet. And this builder is going above and beyond that. And we've sat through several meetings this year where people have talked about their house flooding in the last 2 years. And several of those residents have lived in those houses for 45 years and had never flooded before. Well, why is that? The homes have been there in that neighborhood. The fact is that in the last 2 years, what amount of rain have we had fallen in a short period of time? There's not a standard in the state of Florida that says you have to meet that requirement because it was a natural disaster. And that's why those homes flooded. A couple weeks ago, we had a gentleman sit up here and I'm like, I want facts to be out there. A gentleman came up tonight and said that we had several homes flood in Port Orange early this month or September when we had a Sunday afternoon thunderstorm that rained 4.9 inches of rain in 2.5 hours. Half of what we received in August. The streets were flooded. That's where the water was supposed to be. That's where it's designed to be. We had a house flood in Port Orange, Sleepy Hollow, from the back of their yard, not from the street. That's the fact. So when you come up, bring the facts. I want to hear the facts. I know the facts. I'm watching this. We had a subdivision just built behind Sugar Mill Elementary. The night that it rained that hard, that's the first place I went because I was concerned about 6th Street. No sitting water. 30 plus inlets in that subdivision handled all that water so that street and those homes did not flood. Same amount of water fell. So the newer developments are preventing flooding. And the older developments, when you get 22 inches of rain, there's not a darn thing we can do about it. And we're going to spend millions and millions of dollars east of 95 to help prevent that with no guarantee that it's going to work when we get 22 inches of rain in 24 hours. So that's what happened with Ian and Milton. It is. And there's not standards in place right now to prevent that. So Spruce Creek floods when the tide's too high and it pushes back in there. It's common with every watershed that goes out to the ocean. When we have king high tides, which we did, on top of a week of onshore winds out of the north, pushed all that water back into the creek. It wasn't runoff from your neighborhood into the creek that flooded. Okay. No,
let him
it's
finish. Let him finish.
So what I'm saying is you had a king high tide, you had push up the river, and when your water flows into it, it just exasperated it. But it was something that does not happen often. It's happened often in the last 2 weeks, but the facts are in 100 years it has not. So we've had lots of rain in this town, 45 years of rain, and you flood twice. That's what someone had told me. So I'm looking at this, and you know, it's they're doing their best. I think the state makes requirements that we control the water, and that's what I wanted to say.
Lance?
Well, again, I know this is not a popular project with anybody, but I'm a numbers guy, and as a builder, I'm a numbers guy. And I look at this development and the amount of effort that we are going to put towards retaining this water on this property. I believe it's going to benefit the neighbors by this project holding more water by design. And so this particular project has the ability to hold and retain, and before any of it's discharged, right now it's just discharging into the creek or it's discharging wherever. This design and the numbers that I've calculated on here is far in excess of even some of the other newer neighborhoods. And I firmly believe that this project will not contribute to any additional flooding beyond. That's just my opinion of it.
Anything else?
No.
All right, so my, I spoke with Mr. Paytas about the project and what he's looking to do. You know, my concern is there's several things. Much like a lot of us in this room, including Mr. Paytas and several of us up here, we're born and raised. We've been here for a long, long time, and we've lived in this community almost all our entire lives. For whatever reason, whatever it's happening, I believe it's just a total change in environmental conditions in our region of the country. This is not a Port Orange thing. This is a Florida thing. Unless you are living under a rock and not seeing what's happening all over the entire state of Florida, I don't know what to say about that. But the reality of it is it's not a Port Orange thing. It's not a Volusia County thing. This is a regional thing that they are seeing all over the state from an environmental impact. But those environmental impacts are happening. We're watching them. We're living them. And, the state of Florida has land development codes and regulations, as do cities and counties. And those regulations get based on historical data and, to some degree, what I think are assumptions, right? And so you hear like, okay, well, you're going to have this plan or these rules to build a community that's going to be able to withstand 10 inches of rainfall in 24 hours, right? And so then what happens, you get a storm that brings in 11 or 12, or you don't even get 10 inches, but you got 5 or 6 too fast, right? Which we saw recently, right? Recently what we saw is because we've all been up here mostly for the last couple of years working on a lot of these other projects that stem from impacts from, Ian and Milton and other rain events. And we've been focusing on this concept of a certain amount of rain over 24 hours. Well, in your mind, you start thinking, okay, well, that's incrementally happening, right? So if it's a ½ inch of rain per hour for 24 straight, that's one thing. But then when you start seeing storm-related events all over the state, and including ones that recently impacted us, where now you see 4, 5, 6, or 7 inches of rain that fall in less than 25% of that time frame, and you're like, well, wait a minute, why are these communities flooding? They didn't get 10 inches in 24 hours. Well, but they got 4.5 or 5 or 6 inches in 2 hours. And the infrastructure is not designed to handle that volume that fast. That's not to point a finger at any developer or anybody, because I get that at some point, like the engineer talked about, the rules are always continuing to change to try to get better and accommodate these things within reason. You can't raise these developments 40 feet in the air, right? So those kind of things are weighing heavily on me right now because they've been so recent. We talk about this concept of a 100-year storm and a 500-year storm. I have a hard time even hearing that anymore, only because I'm only 55 years old and I feel like I've lived through 7 or 8 of these things, right? So, but I get what that concept really means. It really doesn't mean 100 years. It means 1% every year, right? Or 0.5% every year, or whatever. The reality of it is we're seeing more and more of these things. I mean, we are really transitioning into a time over the last 5 years and what seems to be now a year after year thing. When we get to August, from August to November, we're watching the weather non-stop, right? And even if it's not impacting our community specifically, we're seeing it around the state. I don't know the answers to all those things. That's a lot to say that my big concern for this area of our city is what's going to come out of the Spruce Creek Basin study. We have seen Williamson flood over 3 times in the last 4 years, albeit a couple of times for days it stayed flooded and impassable, even emergency vehicles, and other times for short amounts of time. And that's because the outfalls on Williamson go into the Spruce Creek River. And when the Spruce Creek River is rising and the outfalls are now underwater, it's pushing water back up in and closing the road down. I've lived out in Water's Edge for 21 years. The first 16, 17 years out there, I never saw anything like that. Now I would have to say, never had that much rain. So we haven't had storm-related events during those periods of times to even test that, to see what that would be like. The other thing is there are communities in this area, and this is not the fault of the developer, but like the Spruce Creek Fly-In, for example, which most of you that have spoke tonight live in, that neighborhood couldn't be built today the way it is today. Because it doesn't have the stormwater retention and conditions that would be required today. That it wouldn't happen. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. You look at the other communities, whether it's Sanctuary, Cypress Head, Water's Edge, those areas were built to different standards and have tremendous amounts of stormwater retention and infrastructure. And it does work. I mean, it takes an Ian to exceed that, but that's not what they weren't built to Ian standards. They were built to much less, but I would say 98, 99% did well, even in Ian. That being said, regionally in this area, I'm very concerned about this Spruce Creek Basin, and my interest, and I mentioned to Mr. Paytas, is I would feel a lot more comfortable today had that study been done and completed for us to see, because ultimately that is the heart, if you will, for this area as I understand it. And City Manager, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, that is the key element to this, much like we are seeing in other parts of the city where the key element might be the Nova Road Canal system or the Reed Canal outfall or the Cambridge area and things like that. And so I'm very concerned about that. I'd feel a lot better tonight had that study been completed and we had some kind of idea on what the capacity continues to be or what kind of projects should be underway to improve things like that in that area. So that's kind of my where I'm at with that right now. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Did you have anything, Mr. Seaman?
Unless you just on the basin study, it did expect to start beginning of 26. It'll probably take a year. So by the time the study's done, it'll be Christmas of next year. Any scale of project that comes out of it's probably going to be like the same thing we're dealing with, where it's likely to be 2 years before the projects get completed because of the large scale. There may be some small scale improvements and things that can be done, but likely what we're looking at is the same level thing. So I think that the short-term solutions being the challenge and possibly even some kind of program to help individual homeowners. But it's just for practical reality, because I want to make sure people have that expectation. These are long and slow. You're trying to undo 10, 20 years of not having had that. So I'd likely say that study probably isn't done until the end of 26, and it may be, again, another 12 to 18, 24 months before you see projects in that basin as a result of it.
Okay, understood. Mr. Posey, did you have anything else that you wanted to?
Just quickly, I want to mention that, again, Joey Posey, that came out of this discussion. I thought that I did want to mention that interestingly enough, the stress test that you're talking about with the rate of rainfall is actually something that's part of the St. John's rules currently. So in talking in terms of 4-hour intervals, that is something that actually is implemented in these stormwater designs now. So in addition to having a better system and a system that is controlling the rate and the volume, and it has much more volume, you're getting that stress test that doesn't normally occur. And the mention of Williamson, interestingly enough, I'd asked the engineer, FDOT doesn't do that, funny enough. So that's a little nuance that, again, comes out of the design when you get to construction plans, when you get to the subdivision plans. These are the little nuances that get lost in the discussion. In terms of trying to address concerns and moving forward, again, there's two hearings that when it comes to this, and that the opportunity to listen to feedback and to try to do the best we can. Again, we think this is a great project, and we stand by it. But if there's ways to
work towards trying to, work those out between first and second reading, we're happy to. That's not something that we're shying away from on our end, but like I think the city manager had alluded to, that sometimes these things are just timing, and the Spruce Creek study, as much as I'd love to have it today too, it may be end of '26, and then where do we go from there? But we're ready to make the commitment and do what we can, and do our best by the neighbors too. So that was just a little suggestion I just wanted to throw out there, and based on the feedback, because we want that opportunity too.
And I do want to be clear, of all the communities and the builders that have built over time in Port Orange, Paytas Homes has been a fabulous builder. They build a good quality home. They build good subdivisions. We see them all over our neighborhood, and you can almost ride around and you can see certain subdivisions and you can recognize the quality of a subdivision. And so it really, for me, doesn't have anything to do about the particular builder or the particular applicant. These are concerns that are happening in real time right now in our most recent history and in our future. And in this particular area, like you just said, I'd feel a lot better too if that study was done before tonight. So,
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
No, that was it.
All right, thanks. We'll bring it back to council for the clerk on the first, for item 20, the first reading of ordinance number 2025-26. Call the roll to the motion on the floor.
Councilman Gifford.
Yes.
Councilman Green.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brooks.
No.
Mayor Siller.
No. Choo-choo. Item 21 to the first reading of ordinance number 2025-27.
Penelope Cruz Planning. I just want to say, with the denial of the first item, that we can't do the second item.
Okay. So do I need to do anything from a,
Somebody just need to go. I'm sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
I would, again, if one of the motioners would be willing to at least let us go back to the table and try to address concerns, I think that's at least due an opportunity, given the feedback we received, and trying to do right by the neighbors too. That would be something that I think would be fair, just given the circumstances.
well, we've had a vote. How does that?
That would be up to the two members of the prevailing, there is no prevailing. So if there was a vote for reconsideration, somebody'd have to, one of the council member here would have to bring that up to reconsider the vote at this point. To give consideration to tabling the item. I believe that's what he's,
Yes,
is that what you're
exactly.
requesting?
Well, I think we've already had the vote.
Yeah, you can
Don't do that.
So you can reconsider the vote.
Okay.
If you want to entertain tabling the motion, tabling the item for a future date, rather than a straight no tonight.
Well, we've already had the vote. We just.
Correct.
Okay.
You can reconsider a vote after it's been done.
Okay.
At the same meeting. So it happens tonight or it doesn't happen.
I'm kind of confused on that, on what you're saying.
So one of the members of council can request to reconsider the vote.
Okay.
By making a motion to table the item. That can happen
Okay.
tonight and tonight only. You can
But
reconsider.
the applicant can bring something back in the future anyway.
Well,
There,
it would have to go through the full city process again.
Correct.
Right. Guys, please, please, okay? Don't do that.
Yeah.
Let us, just be respectful in the meeting, okay? So,
and there may be some timelines on how quickly you can come back through as well.
Right,
that
exactly.
we'd have
right,
to look
because,
at. So that's
because
not,
I think what you've just got back in feedback is absent this other study being done and us having this other data, I don't think this isn't about like how many trees are on the property or something like that. I think this is larger than that.
Well, in all due respect, I understand your position, Mayor, but I did not hear feedback from the full commission, and we have a missing member too. So, again, I'm only making the request of tabling. It seems fair, just given just how the discourse went and the ability to try to do the right by the neighbors and try to incorporate where we can those changes. And if there's feedback that is directed when it comes to how do we design it, we just want that opportunity. That's it.
Am I allowed to speak to the council members about?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just kind of curious, were you two under the impression that you're waiting for a study from St. John's Water Management or a Spruce Creek study from the
Basin.
I'm just kind of curious, when we annexed this property back in January, February, I don't know when it was. It was in June. June of this year. Okay, it was this council that annexed this property in, clarification. I mean, obviously at that time, I clearly knew the reason why was for us to have a subdivision built to continue quality growth throughout Port Orange.
And we were clear with that representation.
Very clear. So tonight, you brought up some concerns, and I'm curious what those concerns are for the no vote, because we clearly, why would we have a gentleman annex property in
So the
to
vote-
keep it a farm?
Yeah, we can discuss a redo of the vote, but we can't go back into
Okay.
the
So my
the basis
question
for
to
the vote.
you is, why are your concerns with the study coming? Is that going to change your mind, or is it a solid no? Because I don't think I'm a yes vote. He's a yes vote.
It's those.
It's those two that
If
are
there's
no
a
votes.
reconsideration,
They
you
would
don't
have
have
to
to.
make the consideration to table it, correct?
And you don't have to do that here tonight. That's an option. You don't have to do that here tonight. So we could just move on to the next item, or we can reconsider right now.
But any councilman can reconsider.
I think the two
Or the
no's
two
are in the
no's.
prevailing party right
Oh,
now.
the prevailing party,
So
understood.
one of those two can reconsider, or you don't have to.
Wait, does that go for the tabling too?
Correct.
And just to be clear, this item is for the FLU.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. By implication.
The density. So they
Correct.
could have brought a project tonight for 1 unit an acre as opposed to 0 to 2 units an acre.
They applied for what they applied.
Right,
which was
so
the
I'm
0
just
to 2.
basing this on what they've brought forward, to answer your question. I'm not opposed to development, but there's a lot of other factors other than just,
less
hey,
density.
here's a development I want to build.
Okay.
So,
I agree with you, Scott.
And that's what I was trying to get.
thank you. What do we need to do with item 21?
So item 21, we'll just have to take that motion off the floor because it's no longer relevant because now we don't have the underlying future.
Does that
land
need
use
to be done
definition.
by the person who made the motion?
Who did make that motion? I don't recall.
I did 21.
Yeah, 2025-27.
You want to
needs be
rescind your motion?
Rescinded
Okay.
for the motion.
And Sean, would you like to rescind your second as well?
I rescind my second.
Okay.
All right, so we have had the motion and the second rescinded for item number 21. Item number 22, first reading of ordinance number 2025-28.
I move to approve item number 2025-28.
I just second it.
We have a motion and a second. You want to read that one?
Oh, read the ordinance.
That's an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 9, relating to residential docks and commercial marina regs, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Okay. I
All
need
you.
a motion.
Go right ahead.
Penelope Roots Planning. So the proposed amendments are related to water-dependent uses, like City Attorney said, marinas, residential docks, and boathouses as part of our ongoing LDC maintenance. Currently, a terminal dock platform is limited to a maximum width of 8 feet and a total area not to exceed 160 square feet. About a year ago, there was a variance that was reviewed by the Planning Commission, and staff noted that the city's regulations for residential terminal dock platforms, as well as other water-dependent uses, several of the items that are in this current code amendment tonight haven't been updated in over 30 years, and staff was directed by the Planning Commission to, after they approved that variance, to move forward and do that analysis with other local government code amendment and code requirements and see where we stand and whether we need to actually amend our land development code. So upon comparison with those current standards in neighboring jurisdictions, staff found that the Port Orange regulations do appear to be outdated and could be revised to reflect advancements in marine equipment, modern construction material, boater and resident safety, larger boat sizes, and to provide more functional space for homeowners to place outdoor furniture, safely maneuvering around the dock, and to better align with modern practices. In this particular case, the other jurisdictions and FDOP allow residential terminal platforms ranging in size from 180 square feet to 1,000 square feet, with no restriction in the width of terminal docks platforms. So the proposed amendment would remove the 8-foot width restriction and increase the maximum allowable terminal platform area to 500 square feet, aligning with those standards of adjacent cities and FDEP. With regards to boathouse height, currently the maximum permitted height for a boathouse is 12 feet above the water level at the mean high water line. When compared with the height requirements for other adjacent cities, ours was lower and hadn't been updated since about 1991. Other local governments allow a range from 15 to 18 feet, and so our proposed amendment here tonight would increase that height to 18 feet to come into alignment with adjacent local governments. And it would update that height for the boathouse to accommodate the larger boats that we're seeing now, modern boat lifts and equipment and features, and to respond to rising tides and water levels. Currently, the Land Development Code with regards to residential dock setbacks only addresses setbacks for properties with a shoreline length of 65 feet or more. For properties with less than 65 feet of shoreline, there's no specific setback in our Land Development Code. So for the past 20 years, staff's basically been applying the FDP standard for those lots. And so what this part of the amendment does is incorporate those standards from FDP that have been implemented for the past 20 years into our Land Development Code, basically requiring for those lots that are less than 65 feet of shoreline to have the dock centered there on the lot, and also allowing the provision that FDEP has for two adjacent property owners, regardless of shoreline length, to share a dock structure subject to a setback waiver agreement. So the last item is regarding commercial marina siting criteria. Similarly, these setbacks haven't been updated for about 30 years or so. Currently, our LDC limits the finger piers of marinas to a maximum width of 3 feet, and the proposed amendment is looking to increase that to 4 feet in order to improve safety of the piers, to allow for more space for boaters to board and exit their vessels, and to meet ADA accessibility and public accommodation standards. So, with that, staff is recommending approval, and is here to answer any questions you have.
Oh, technical jargon there. Any questions?
Now, this came in front of me when I was on the planning commission, and I was one of the ones that kind of helped us to say this is something that we needed to update with obviously people's bigger boats. If they're going to spend the money for a boathouse, they're going to have a nice boat on it, and they didn't have enough room to get the boat out of the water. So I'm good with everything on this, and I think it's exactly what we discussed previously.
Can you go back to you're good then. Can you go back to the final slide?
The marina.
The maximum, yeah, we talked about the maximum is now 3 and it's going to be 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no width requirements in Volusia County, no width requirements in Ponce Inlet. Can we go to 6 feet? Someone wanted a wider pathway, for their finger pier. 4 feet still, a foot, that's 6 inches on each side. It's not really wide, and we're putting a maximum on it. So if someone wanted a little wider space, I think it would be, there's no width requirement right now for Volusia County Ponce Inlet, and Ormond, they don't allow any marinas. I just think that, if a developer or someone wants to bring 6 feet, we're going to tell them no, when actually 6 feet is safer than 4.
Yeah, so if the council wants to amend the ordinance in that way, we can do that, and that can be changed and reflected prior to the second reading or subject to amend the motion tonight. We were basically going off of actual marina proposals that we have seen over the past several years. The number that they've asked for is 4, and we had 3. So no one's asked for anything wider than 4. That's what I believe we're designing the Riverwalk Day Docks at, as well as the 4. So that's why that number came there. It was a standard ADA number, and that's what we've seen from proposed marinas. Not that many have gone forward,
Could
but
we-
that.
Sean.
Because I kind of was thinking what he's thinking. Could we
Yeah.
do a minimum of 4, but there is no max? So if they want to make it wider than 4, they could?
I think other communities don't have a width requirement, so if that's the council's pleasure.
Well, I wouldn't want anything.
You're talking about minimum.
Yeah, I wouldn't want
And this is
anything, I
referring
wouldn't
to
want
max.
anything minimum than 4. I don't like 3. And I certainly, the minimum would be 4 if they needed to go a little wider. It's a lot more accommodating to somebody who's actually using it, especially if there's somebody who's got a handicap chair. And then you got someone who's pulling a cart. And now you're tight, and we're talking about safety. So I would say that we revise this, that it's a minimum of 4. No one's going to go too wide because it's costly to do that.
Well, and they're still
It
going
might be
to,
a cost thing when you set minimums too, right? So, that's.
Well, we're going a maximum of 4, so they could. So I'd say let's increase it to a maximum of 6, and then they could come with a variance request. Correct?
Yeah, they could always ask for a variance request. You could also, if you wanted to change it to no width requirement, like some of these other communities, we could do that too.
So right now we don't have even a minimum requirement.
No, we have the maximum. Historically, that was to prevent impacts to the seafloor and things like that from having too wide of
Okay.
piers. I'm not good at reading lips, I'm sorry.
yeah, I guess in my brain, I'm kind of thinking like Sean's thinking, I don't think it should be any narrower than 4 feet.
Yeah.
And as far as the maximum goes, because if, let's say you did a minimum 4, no max, are they still going to have to fall under this 500 square feet total?
No, that's a different. So
Okay.
this is for marina. We don't have a square footage.
Okay.
This is just for the finger pier for marinas. The 500 square foot was for residential terminal dock platforms.
Okay.
So we've got residential dock standards, and then we have commercial dock standards.
Yeah, I like 4
I
minimum,
like
6
at least
max.
a minimum of 4, maximum of 6.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, because I'm just thinking if you get somebody down there in a wheelchair and they're turning around, a little bit more than 4 feet would be a pretty good thing to have.
Yeah, we probably just need to amend the motion, I guess.
Yeah, is there a consent? I haven't.
I would make a motion that we amend this marina sitting, sighting
Sighting criteria.
criteria, that it's a minimum of 4 feet and a maximum of 6 feet.
Okay.
Do you live with that?
I can live with that. I would the
make-
Volusia County Code is no width requirement. It makes it easy. It coincides with Volusia County. It makes it a standardized. If you want to make a minimum of 4 feet and then, or just keep it to the Volusia County Code, that's perfectly fine. I'm with both of y'all with the wheelchair access. Trust me, living in one for 4 months and going down a dock to go fishing since I had nothing better to do is a nightmare. So 3 feet don't cut it.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that it's wide open in the county. I made a motion and it hasn't been second for rules of order.
Do you want, hang on before you second.
I
looks like
just
she
want to
was
clarify,
really wanting to
there's
jump in.
nothing in this amendment that changes the width for residential finger piers. This is just for the marina.
Correct.
So, okay, because
Okay.
those still have that same standard
Then I'll
because we haven't had
I'll
any.
second what you said, Sean.
complaints.
Okay, so back to my ideas. I don't like no requirements. I've been there and seen why, and I would like to set a standard to say if you're going to do this, that we're going to do it a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 6, with the idea that if someone needed to widen it for some reason, then we could come to them. They could come to us.
So let's walk through this procedurally real quick. So we have a motion and a second to amend this. Lance, any discussion on that? Anybody in the public wish to comment on that part? See none, back to council. Let's vote on that amendment to this. Roll call, please. Robin's looking at me like, hey, he did this right. Go ahead.
Councilman Gifford?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Councilman Grove?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Grove? Mayor Coe?
Yes, 4-0, and now a vote. Anybody from the public wish to speak on the full motion? It's amended, yeah. Seeing none, back to council, call the roll.
Councilman Gifford?
Yes.
Councilman Green?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Grove?
Yes.
Mayor Coe?
Yes, 4-0. Moving on to item 23, council committee reports. This will be the Councilman Sean Gephardt show, starting with the First Step
Thank
Shelter.
you. First Step Shelter had our meeting last Monday. They have 2.1 million in assets. They've exceeded 1,000 placements. They had a reception for that last month. It went very well. They served the food that they served them. It was fantastic. Good turnout for that, so everything's moving good. They have their gala coming up, some mayor's gala, Daytona Beach Mayor's Gala coming up. I'd like to see if we could have some representation there since we do support them.
So moved.
And- All right. So with that being said, First Step Shelter is, it's doing what it's meant to do, and that's to help people take the step towards living out of their car or out of someone else's house and maybe living in their own home, which is very exciting. The Chamber of Commerce, we had one of their board members speak today, and they've got a lot going on. They actually have a ribbon cutting for a new business tomorrow, and they just got a lot of good things happening. Don Burnett is their new executive director, bringing in some new members. They've got some great events. They do have their installation coming up in December, so if you can attend that, that would be nice too.
They've had a lot of presence on the radio lately, I've noticed, working towards membership increasing.
Just supporting small businesses is their goal, and it's working out really well. We have a lot of small businesses in Port Orange, South Daytona, Daytona Beach Shores, and Ponce Inlet. Not as much as in Ponce Inlet, but they do participate in a lot of activities that we offer. And that's all I've got.
Gentlemen, anything else to come before us tonight? Mr. City Manager? Mr. Attorney?
No, sir.
No? All right. Have a good night.